Yes, guys, and welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. We are back to review a game week that's still going on. We've got a game on Thursday night, but of course, we're looking ahead to the penultimate game week of the season. I'm joined by regular co-host Mr. Dean Jones. Dean, lovely to see you again. We missed you on Friday. We had Abdul stepping in for you, as well as Big Man Backer stepping in, who was like 15 minutes fashionably late, but we made it work. So yeah, it was a good stream. But yeah, we were thinking, what is Dean up to in Germany? You're on a stag do, weren't you?
Yeah, obviously I can't tell you any of the details, but yeah, it was Dusseldorf's a really cool city actually, and turns out great nightlife. Like the bar scene in Dusseldorf, absolutely unbelievable. So that was a big surprise, but that is the reason we went there. And someone had a good tip that it was a good place to go. The normal bars are open till like 5 a.m. It's just like a really good bar culture they've got out there. The streets are just packed. Like the weather was really good, so like everyone was just standing out in the streets drinking and stuff. Felt like being in like Portugal or something at times, but yeah, it was good. I mean, the good thing too about when you're outside of England is obviously you get to watch more games. So you set up on a Saturday in a bar and you can actually watch all the games and stuff. So probably saw more Premier League than I would see normally at home, just because.
So the 3 o'clocks.
Yeah, you can see the 3 o'clocks. I could see Fulham relegate Southampton, so that was nice. But yeah, it was good fun, mate. Very good fun.
Did you ever see? Were you around? We're old enough to remember. I don't know if you remember this or if it was that common, but I remember living outside of London, but on a Saturday afternoon when I was like 17, going into London and being like, there's this pub, and in this pub you can watch the 3 p.m.s, and you will pay £2 to get in. You get a free bottle of beer when you go in. You pay the £5 or whatever. And yeah, the 3 p.m.s were on. That doesn't happen anymore because it's highly illegal. But it used to be a thing, right?
You used to get away with it, didn't you? Yeah, it definitely used to be a thing. And there are still places that do it. They have to keep it very much under the carpet. Not really around here. I don't see it anymore. But I definitely know, like in major cities, there are still places you can do it in England. It used to be good fun, but yeah, it's just. I really hope they get rid of this cap soon and we can watch the 3 p.m.s. Like, it's so annoying that we can't see it all.
Well, we saw our first 3 p.m. in game week. I think it was maybe 36. We saw one a week or two ago, which was a first. I can see in the chat, good to see so many, but we have someone, Aston Villa Bozzy, who was born in Dusseldorf. Awesome. What's the football team like there, Dean? Are they in the top tier?
I don't even know who the actual team is for Dusseldorf. I mean, everyone was going to the Dortmund game that I came across.
Right.
So Bozzy could probably tell me who would be what the local football team was. I didn't really have time to investigate it. I saw quite a few people wearing Frankfurts. I don't know if that was a thing.
I feel like the World Cup had a stadium in Dusseldorf when Italy won it in 2006. I feel like one of the stadiums was Dusseldorf because they
Fortuna
just look at the big cities.
Yeah, Fortuna Dusseldorf. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I've never heard of them.
But I have heard of them, but they sound like they were like a traditional. They were like a traditional German team. Like back in the day, they were big. I don't think they're doing great stuff anymore.
But yeah, a lot 54,000.
Yeah, I think Dortmund was about 45 minutes from where we were. I think I'll probably get corrected now in the messages, but yeah, Dortmund had a big game, and one of the lads who was actually with us went to that game. So yeah, so it kind of been too far away.
Lovely to see so many in the chat this evening. I've got a few comments referring to the game week just gone. If you're captain, like me, Callum Wilson, let us know. I think Tim might have done it. There's a few in the chat that I think probably have. Loads of you will be on Isak. Don't give up hope, guys. There is still hope that Isak goes big and bigger than Wilson. For those of you that are currently in, thank you for the love. Hit that like button if you want to show your appreciation. But look, coming up tonight, we have got, as always, loads of chat around the eye test report that's just gone. We're going to look at the notebook. Dean's got some headlines for us there. We're going to show our points totals and give you an indication as what we're planning to do for the game week about to come. There's a big question mark over how we get the likes of Bruno Fernandes in our team, who's on a double. Do we look at Kevin De Bruyne? If you own Salah and you wanted to go to one of those, perhaps now you're not going to sell Mo Salah. He's got Villa at Anfield up next, and Liverpool are flying. And I think Salah on the final day of the season, I think he might have Southampton. I'm just checking now. Yeah, he's got Southampton. You can't sell Mo Salah, surely, even though perhaps you had put it in the pipeline of I'll get Bruno or De Bruyne on a double and swap them. I don't think you can do that anymore. Maybe you find a different route to those players. But Dean, we should probably just mention, I mean, loads will watch this on catch up. So loads will watch this after the Milan derby. So we probably shouldn't talk too much about Milan, which is a real shame because I'd love to. But we can look ahead to a little mini preview on Man City Real Madrid, which is tomorrow night, which is a huge football match. It's the biggest game under Pep, really, isn't it?
I massively fancy Man City for this game. I think that this is the best situation they've ever been in to go on and actually do this. They put on a good performance at Bernabeu. And look, Kevin De Bruyne is actually the main man for City at this moment in time. Like all the expectation in that first leg and all the headlines in Marca and stuff were like, Haaland's coming to town. Like, how do you stop him? Like, what are we going to do? You get to the big game, and it's actually yet again De Bruyne that does the damage.
He was
similar
amazing
in that Arsenal game, wasn't it? Like it was De Bruyne that actually came up big. So actually tomorrow night, again, all eyes will probably be on Haaland. But if you're taking a step back from the sensationalism of that and the record of across the season, actually look at it as who actually turns up for Man City when it really, really matters at this stage of the season. Yes, of course, Haaland could, but De Bruyne for me is the one that they're really going to struggle to stop. Obviously a brilliant goal. So I really do fancy Man City in this second leg, I have to say.
Yeah, I think I do. And I know I said the biggest game under Pep. I guess it's perhaps not because they've won other titles. And of course, I forget, they were in a Champions League final. So they have gone that one step further. Of course,
they have.
They got beaten by
such
Chelsea.
A big opportunity because it's getting Madrid out the way and then getting probably into Milan in the final.
Which is not a gimme. I do think
it's not.
If they got AC Milan, I would be like, I'd be like, yeah, City have got one hand on the trophy. But genuinely, guys, I promise you, this Inter Milan team is a proper, well set up cup team that have hit form exactly the right time. They will give City problems. I know City will be strong favourites, and look, City will probably win it if they get Inter in the final. But it's no gimme at all. And for a bit of fun, I might chuck a $5 at Inter just because why not?
Yeah, it's worth it. And just to see some joy on your face when Pep's looking very unhappy. Gundogan turns up too. Yeah, good point, Mark. I shouldn't underestimate Gundogan, who honestly, I can't believe that Man City are going to let him leave.
Is that happening, Dean? That is pretty much a done deal, isn't it?
It's not sealed that he'll leave, but what I hear is Gundogan wants 2 years. They only want to give him 1 year. He's 32. He's in this sort of form. Just give him 2 years. If he's willing to stay for the sake of an extra year, I've seen much worse use of money in football than that. Obviously, Gundogan's might have his sights set on potentially getting somewhere else, but I think it's possible to keep him. And if it is, I think you move everything to get him to stay because he's so difficult to replace. And if it's not necessary to replace him, don't do it. He's still too good.
Yeah, he is. And look, guys, in FPL, Gundogan is 7.4 million now. If it is his last hurrah, you would expect... Firstly, I thought he was going to get rested at the weekend. Ahead of the Real Madrid game, I was like, maybe needs a rest. But without Kevin De Bruyne in the team, Pep will not play a football match without De Bruyne and Gundogan. I just think that's two of the most important players in that was injured. The other one feels like he has to play. And ideally, they'll both play. I think for the run-in, the title could be seen as wrapped up if they beat Chelsea in 37. But Brighton away, Brentford away, I don't know, Gundogan points could be a nice little differential shout at 7.4. I've got Jack Grealish and I'm okay about that. But given the choice now, I'd go Gundogan over Grealish. I'm not going to make that move, but he's firing on that goal was just class.
The goal was just, that's just the thing. He's obviously very confident when he's pulling things like that out the bag, isn't he? And that's what you really look for in FPL. And form and momentum is what you need. So, very interesting. Evil, I would take Gundo to Liverpool for free. I bet you would, mate. I bet you would. He's going
to be on super good wages. I guess we'll have more
100%.
transfer stuff towards the end of the season and even in our summer months as well, guys. So stay tuned for Chasing Green Arrows for more of that transfer chat. We get it every time the window opens. We want to tap into Dean's expertise, his in-the-know knowledge, and we can absolutely do that on this channel. So another reason there to subscribe. FPL Guns has joined us, guys.
Hey,
I feel for Ali a little bit because he's not having the worst game week. Is Johnny having internet issues? Oh, maybe. Didn't notice
It
it was.
only jumped around for a second, mate. It jumped around for a second. It was. I think you're good. Yeah.
So, like me, Guns Ali, world number 1, has captained Callum Wilson.
Yeah.
What an amazing call to do that, world number 1. When you look at the players behind him, world number like 2 to 10, they've all captained Isak. And he knew they would. And he knew they owned Isak. And he still went, no, rather than play defensive, I could go Isak. I'm going to go Wilson because I think Wilson's the better player. And I had a good WhatsApp conversation with him. And I thought he was going to end up going Isak. And he even flipped a coin twice to go, who should it be? And both times it landed on Isak. And he went, I need to flip it again. He just wanted to pick Wilson.
Wilson was the call. Wilson was the call. Like, we've said it for a couple of weeks now that we felt Wilson was the one still. Even if he didn't start, he was the biggest threat and the biggest likelihood to actually pull in the points. I mean, I was a bit annoyed. I did bring in Wilson for this game week and then I decided not to captain him. But the reason I did that was because I was on the stag do that I was on. All of my mates were basically in my little mini FPL league.
Yeah.
And so like before deadline, I discovered like all the people around me actually had also brought in Callum Wilson and they'd all made him captain. So I was like, this feels a bit pointless because I'm never going to overtake them if I go this. So I stuck with Haaland, hoping that he might bag a hat trick at Everton. So I was like, for the sake of that, I just rolled the dice a bit and it didn't pay off. It was a bit annoying because I sat watching them with them all while Callum Wilson scored twice. But it was interesting in FPL Guns. I realised who I want more while flipping the coin. You didn't need to flip the coin. You already knew in your gut. I mean, I can't believe that Ali is like managing to stay on top of the pile. Like, This has been a lot of weeks now.
It has, but he is getting, Ali would be first to admit it, he is getting stressed out by this because he's had some bad luck. His wild card didn't turn out, but he's still top of the chart. And when you look at the points, I think he's got 16 points on number 2. But he brought in the likes of, say, Kevin De Bruyne, who's had like 4 points in 3 weeks. Yeah. He doesn't own a Estupiñán either. And looking at those around him, to see a Estupiñán get his, 16, 17 points, and Ali only got the 6 from Steele, wasn't great. But last night was good for him. He owns Trent and Salah, and not all of those below him do. So, yeah, he's looking good, and fingers are crossed for you. And now, all of those on Isak in the chat, fair enough. Like, he might go and ruin this Wilson run.
Ali, I've got a question for you.
Go on.
Like, you can reply to me this in the messages. Like, obviously, like you can see all the teams around you, like in the overall league, and like some people do put their full name. So, like the second person in the league at the moment is Joanne Hales Owen. There is probably no one else with that name in the world.
Oh, Facebook.
It's very unique. Surely you can find her team. Like, are you going to these lengths at the moment? Like, even if she's not like in all these communities, I find it hard to believe that the person who's second in the world is not somewhere talking about her team. So are you doing this? Like, what lengths are you going to at the moment to check out and try and find out what your rivals are thinking on a day-to-day basis? Because I would be going, right, I can definitely find that name. A few underneath, unfortunately, you can't because they've just like either made up names or just too commoner names. But, you know, there's a few like, like there's at least in the top 10, there's 3 or 4 people I reckon you could track down reasonably quickly. Let me know, Ali. I need to know. I'm not really looking for their plans, even if they share it somewhere. But why not?
Okay, but you are, Ali. I know this. I think you've got a spreadsheet of all their teams, so you know what players you're up against. You know what players that can hurt your rank, and I know Bruno is one of them, and Isak is another one that can really hurt you. So we need Isak to be quiet for Ali. But yeah, we'll be keeping up to date with his scores and ranks.
Shad said he's seen her in another FPL channel. I might track her down. I might try and tell her to come into the chat on Friday. I want a head-to-head here. I want us for the last game week having Ali and Joanne going head-to-head in here. Ali, don't worry, we're backing you. Like, we're supporting you. But I might try and bring in your rival just to add a bit of stress.
Joanne's been unlucky this week. She's benched 18 points, more than Ali, although she does have Raya coming off her bench. Yeah, it's tight. It's 11, not 16. Okay, sweet. Well, look, we'll keep you posted on Ali's form. Let's cross everything for him. And yeah, CH says, has a woman ever won FPL before? I don't think a woman has. I'm pretty confident in saying that. So yeah, again, that would be a cool thing. But this time round, we do want it to be Ali,
Yeah, we
friend
don't.
of the show.
100%.
So let's move on with the show, guys. We are here to chat FPL. We're here to look at some of the best performances of the game week that we're still currently playing. I can't believe there's a Premier League game on Thursday. I can't remember the last time there was a Premier League game on a Thursday. Obviously, with the Champions League, the schedulers didn't want Brighton and Newcastle going up against one of those semis. So let's move on now with our eye test report. Okay, we're going to start at Old Trafford. I mentioned him earlier. Bruno Fernandes is kicking up a fuss. He's not highly owned, guys. I'm gonna check now, but I think he's around 10% owned. Which, when you look at his numbers, when you look at the chances he's creating, yeah, he's 9.1% owned. He is producing all sorts of big chances, usually for Anthony to miss the target, sometimes for Rashford to shoot at the keeper, sometimes for Sancho to fluff his lines. But he's running things and he's playing advanced, which is nice, sometimes on the right, sometimes in the number 10. His expected goal involvement, when we look at the last, let's take, I don't know, 7 games, 0.75, 0.66, 1.2, 0.4, 0.5, 0.5, 1.0, like consistently averaging sort of 0.75 XGI, so high. He's due some big points. Like, he's had an 11-pointer in the last 4 or 5 weeks, but he's had a few 2-pointers where he's been unlucky. He had a 6-pointer last time out. I'm telling you, there's a 15-pointer in him in the next 2 game weeks, maybe even a 20-pointer across the double. I think when you look at the algorithms, and I don't let computers tell me who to pick, but there are computers that will tell you who to pick. And this game week suggests for many of those computers, depending on the model you look at, that Bruno Fernandes will be the points top goal scorer this game week. He's got Bournemouth away on the beach, maybe. And he's got Chelsea at home. Good fixture at Old Trafford. We know their away form is terrible, but I want him in my team. I don't think I can get there, but I do want him, Dean.
I don't trust him on the Bournemouth one. That's the one I don't trust. I actually think the Chelsea one is actually quite safe, but Bournemouth have had such a pickup. They're actually quite good team at the moment. United not travelling that well. I just find it hard to trust him in that fixture. Like a month ago, I'd have, when I was trash talking Bournemouth, I'd have had no problem. But since they started throwing it all back in my face, I've had to watch them a bit more closely and give them some respect. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Chelsea, I still think could be a shambles because Frank Lampard is currently changing his lineup and everything week by week now. And because Pochettino's coming in, Poch wants to have a look at all these players. So Frank has to respect that, and he's going to have to give people runouts. And as a result, Chelsea going to be all over the place for the next couple of weeks. So I think United can get that done. Yeah, for some reason, I'm just really not trusting him on that Bournemouth one. And at 9.5 million, I personally would have to take a hit to get there. So it's tough for me to trust that one.
Oh, I tell you how I can get him, Dean. I don't want to sell Salah. I could sell, if he's injured, Marcus Rashford to Bruno, and then downgrade, say, Chilwell to a United defender like a Wan-Bissaka if I thought he was going to start 3. That could work. And then I've still got, but is Rashford going to be fine? What do you think? I mean, we'll know way more at the end of the week, but from what we know now and what was said last week, I think he'll probably make it. I mean, what do you think? He plays Saturday, game 1 of the double Saturday, then it's Thursday, but that's such big games. They need him for that Bournemouth away fixture.
This is the thing. And then the last time we doubted whether he would play, he played. So that was the thing. And I think he was even more of a doubt last time because we were getting down to Friday and he was just starting to train, if I remember rightly. And he was playing, was it Newcastle on the Sunday, I think?
And I seriously major doubt, didn't he? He said major doubt out of that game.
Major doubt. We'd kind of written him off for it. We were like, oh, he might come on as sub. He started. Yeah. So I'm going with the same hunch that Rashford does actually play, and unless we're given a clear indication by the end of the week, then I'm not gonna rule him out of that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Option there. So look, let's move on. I've said about one eye test report, and I've said Bruno. I just want to go to a game that I was at on Sunday, the Arsenal Brighton game. And it's still very relevant for FPL because Brighton have got a very slim chance. It's not going to happen for top four, but they've got a slim chance. They could finish fifth. It's huge for them. They get their highest finish ever. And in terms of FPL assets, now, sure, we all have Matoma and McAllister. We've spoken about these guys. We've spoken about Enciso a bit. Because of his injury, I'm not going to focus on him because he went off and I don't know when he's going to be back. And again, De Zerbi will tell us, and he's a type that will tell us, De Zerbi.
Yeah.
But another player that I thought looked really good in that game, and he didn't get the points, but I've been so impressed with him, is Evan Ferguson. And again, need to check on his injury status because he did go off at 76. I don't know if it was with an injury or not. He's not flagged. But if you don't have 3 Brighton and you do have a spare spot and you're not interested in the template picks, this guy's 1.4% owned. He plays that Brighton role so well. He can hold up. He can go in behind. He's a unit. He bossed Gabriel. Like Gabriel put himself on him. Like he left Kivior, and it was like Gabriel versus Ferguson for a lot of those duels. And for such a young lad, like he's so strong. And he got the better of Gabriel so many times.
Really,
the strength, but for pacing behind too. We know he's a good finisher if he gets the chances. And I think for those fixtures, game week 37, it's Southampton at home. It's a nice fix. That's a huge. That could be a big 5-6 niller. And Evan Ferguson, I just think, could be a differential shout to the end of the season. He's 4.6 million.
Yeah, it's so cheap, isn't it? That's definitely worth a punt if you're trying to just find someone at this stage who is just different to everyone else, like you say. And Saints just seem to be on their knees. Like the way that they just gave up against Fulham was pathetic, wasn't it? So can't see them bouncing back from that stage.
Yeah. And then we're going to go from a game I was at to a game Dean was at. Oh, no, it wasn't. Sorry, it was away from home for Fulham.
Yeah.
I just wanted to shout out. And I was really surprised to see Mitrovic not start because we knew he was back. And it was like, Vinicius is in the 11 and then he goes and scores. But what we know from Mitro is when he gets minutes in this team, he'll score goals. And now he's back and he's back scoring. He got 25 minutes, got his goal. Dean, I guess we should assume he'll start against Palace and United. I just fancy him as, again, a nice punt, 11% owned, 6.6 million. The Palace fixture at home is not great. It's okay. It's a good enough fixture. But that United away fixture, whilst it's really tough, I just like the narrative of Mitro going to Old Trafford and being the player that stops United getting top 4 off the back of his ban, of course, came in the FA Cup at Old Trafford.
Exactly that. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you saw, but Fulham fans, they welcomed him back at the Southampton game. The away end was basically full of Serbian flags. Everyone was waiting for him. When he scored, went mental. Everyone's been waiting for this moment, and to have him back for his first start back on Saturday when we play Palace is going to be a really big one. Look, Palace are usually pretty good defensively. It's going to actually be quite an emotional game because obviously Hodgson coming back to Fulham. Hodgson and Marco Silva, 2 of the best managers Fulham have ever had. So, it's actually going to be an occasion almost of celebration. I think it'll be quite big in that sense. But, if you're going to celebrate people, we'll also be celebrating, Mitrovic, who is Fulham's greatest ever striker. People are loving this. And, the comeback tale is too strong not to back, I think. As you say, it's not even just the Palace fixture. It's the fact he goes to United on the final day with revenge in mind. It's either a goal or a red card, isn't it? I don't know which. That's the problem. I don't think he would get sent off again, but you never know.
Dean, just quickly on Mitrovic, because I know we've got loads to get through in the next half an hour, guys. Stay with us. If he hadn't been banned and if the second part of the season post-World Cup had been as good as the first in terms of his goals, we'd be talking about him being linked with a move to Old Trafford or similar, right? He's 28 years old. He's still got a big move in him if we think he's going to be in demand, if he's flying. Yeah. We haven't had any transfer chat because he's been banned and he wasn't great post-World Cup with his injury. But do you think in the summer there will be clubs sniffing around him, or is he safe at Fulham? Because he was class to start the season, wasn't he?
Yeah, there's never been that much around him, to be honest. I mean, there was one stage last summer when Juventus was sniffing around a little bit. PSG showed it brief interest in him at one point, and Chelsea were linked with him briefly too. But There's never been a point. I say the Juve thing was probably the most fearful I've ever been of Micho leaving, but even then I wasn't that worried about it. I just don't think he'll go. Like you say, if he'd have carried on through the whole season and he got to like 20 goals or something, I think he's on 12 at the moment.
Yeah.
If he'd have got towards 20 goals, maybe you'd start thinking that. But he's on a decent contract. He loves Fulham. He knows that the team suits him especially all the time that Marco Silva's around. Marco Silva's supposed to be signing a new contract very soon to stay at Fulham. It's getting a bit nerve-wracking because this deal was like set up for him a month ago and he hasn't signed it and he keeps getting linked with other teams. But at the moment, he's still there. And as long as West Ham don't want him, I think he'll stay. But yeah, Mitrovic should, as it stands, be staying a Fulham player for next season. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens. Listen to him saying Fulham aren't a big club. I mean, look, unfortunately, Bozzy, like I know where Fulham are in the food chain. I've seen us eaten up too many times before, unfortunately.
We'll chat more about Mitro, no doubt, in our shows in the summer, guys. So we'll hold some of those questions because, yeah, Ivor, it's a good question. We'll ask Dean on again sometime about his temper scaring bigger clubs. Maybe.
Yeah, it's not really. It's nothing like people think it is anymore. Like, it's really not.
Yeah. Gianni, how does it feel to get 2 penalties? 2 penalties. Oh, Callum Wilson. Yeah. Look, let's park that Wilson chat for 10 minutes time when we show our teams. But next up, let's go to Dean's notebook. And I promise you, we're going to get to Callum Wilson penalties. Notebook up next.
Yeah, so we're obviously just talking about Fulham Palace there. And I'm quite confident Fulham win that game, to be honest. But there's one thing I'm fearful of, and that's Eze.
Yes.
Eze is a scary person right now to be playing against. And look, it's good. Zaha is out for the season now. He might have played his last game for Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see. There's a contract on the table if he wants it. But if Palace don't have Zaha, who's the most obvious guy to step up to be the next Zaha? It's Eze. In the next 2 games, he could step up and be the next Zaha. Like, this guy has just like blossomed again under Roy Hodgson. Like, for whatever reason, he went a bit stale under Vieira. Vieira didn't manage to like utilize the tools that he's got, right? And I think it was probably a bit deflated towards the end of his time.
He was sometimes benched under Vieira. He didn't play 90. He was coming off a lot. It's crazy.
Coming off a lot. And Hodgson, the one thing he'll do for all the criticisms you give him about being defensive and like scared to like let people free, he does let at least 2, sometimes 3 players off the leash. And Eze is one that he absolutely just gives a license to thrill. So just be warned that let me be warned that he could go a bit crazy against Fulham. We haven't got that much to play for at the moment. Palace, I think it could be quite a free-flowing game. There could actually be quite a few goals in it, to be honest. I mean, if you look at our last game when we beat Leicester 5-3, I mean, it was a nonsense game. It was brilliant to watch, but it was complete nonsense. We honestly might get a similar outcome to that one here. So keep an eye on it. But even for next season, I think Eze is going to be massively on our radar. I mean, depends obviously what set of fixtures Palace are given at the start of next season. There's a story today that Hodgson might
one more year before Potter.
Yeah, that's not confirmed. I did check it before I came on here because I hadn't heard that was the case. But it's got more chance than I was willing to give it a week ago. So Hodgson might still be around. If that's the case, Eze lives on as an FPL asset, and maybe Zaha stays. We'll have to wait and see about that.
He's got 152 points, and Bruno is on 155, and Bruno's had a good season. Eze has more points than Almiron, who was flying. Solly March, he's got more points than Son. He's got more points than all the Brighton midfielders, McAllister and co. More points than Gundogan and Maddison and Ward-Prowse. Yeah, I think he's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Only 7 midfielders have more points than him.
What's his price point right now?
5.6.
What will that go up? Someone just said, what is this price for next season? I mean, will that be a...
Yeah, I think we'll be looking at 6.57. It won't be a massive jump though, because he's a Crystal Palace player. But as we've seen with Zaha, like they'll price you high at a club like Palace if you're flying. But he hasn't done it consistently. And even Zaha started the season, I think, at 7. 7.5. He's down 7.2. So yeah, even 7 million for Eze next year. If Roy is there and the fixtures are right at the start of the season, definitely one to monitor.
Yeah, they are still speaking to people, Palace, as well, outside, or they have at least in the last 2 weeks been scoping people out. So we'll have to wait and see what kind of manager they decide to bring in. But ultimately, after seeing how he's been flourishing, like Steve Parish will want someone who was guaranteed to let him free. So let's look out for that. Just going to go across a couple of transfers that are going on at the moment. One that's interesting is that Brentford are signing a new goalkeeper, Flecker, who's coming in from Bundesliga. Now that obviously is a stepping stone to David Raya leaving Brentford.
Chelsea.
So yeah, I mean, at the moment, the links are Chelsea, Tottenham, and Man United. I mean, I was speaking to someone today about this, and I said we were trying to figure out like both what we'd heard and like, well, we thought he might go, and we were like, what's basically we think going to happen here is Onana is wanted by all these teams too, mainly to be fair, Tottenham and Chelsea in this, because De Gea will probably end up staying. So it's like whoever gets Onana, Raya ends up going to the other club. Because I think Onana's just there and Raya might just be there. I think that might be where we end up. But you know, Raya's been such a good option for us this season. He's been brilliant for Brentford, but clearly it's got to the point where they can't carry on. I did speak to someone about Flecker to see like what they were getting. They were like, really good goalkeeper.
Is he a first choice? He's not a backup they've bought. They bought him probably to play because they know Raya's off.
Sounds like this is the like for like, and like he's a certain style of goalkeeper that suits what Brentford do. So yeah, when you I think it's Flecken actually rather than Flecker. But yeah, go and watch him yourselves and see whether you think he suits what you want in a goalkeeper, but he's not going to be highly priced next season, and that will be one to look out for sure. Also, just before we've come on today, I mean, there's been talks about Granit Xhaka for about a week now, talking about he's got important talks to have at Arsenal, and it's now breaking that Xhaka's going to be leaving and that he's going to go to Bayer Leverkusen. Now, I think this is a massive gamble from an Arsenal point of view.
He's been so good.
He's been so good. And Arsenal really don't have that many experienced heads in this team, or even old heads. Like, they've got barely any. And Xhaka, I think he's 30, right? At 30 years old, I mean, off the top of my head, he's one of their oldest players. Jorginho might be 32. Zinchenko, you might think is 36, but he's not. He's 20. They don't have that much experience in the sense of age and managing moments and managing the dressing room and all this kind of stuff. And Xhaka, for all he's been through at Arsenal, the highs and the lows, I feel like he's been a big part of that. Like Getty FPL says, Arsenal will get Rice this summer. And like that is obviously part of this. And they're going to try and get Declan Rice. But we've seen with Arsenal this season, they lack depth. Yeah. Maybe Xhaka's like, look, if you're genuinely going to go and sign a midfielder like Declan Rice and there's not going to be scope for me being here, then I don't want to be. But I don't know if that'd be the case. They've got so many games.
They play together. They play with two anyway. I know Partey's been great, but not good enough to keep Jorginho out of the team of late. And with the Champions League.
Yeah, I just feel like this seems to me like a big gamble to let Granit Xhaka go. And I think that look, Arsenal's business has been good up to now. Maybe they go and sign Cancelo or do something like that, and in the end you get Cancelo coming in from one side, Zinchenko coming in from the other side, and you've got other midfielders making up for his, the fact he's not there. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting monitoring what Arsenal do this summer. And like you mentioned earlier, by the way, people, it looks like we're probably going to carry this show on through the summer. So while most FPL shows will be ending, we're looking at carrying this on, and like we'll still definitely have an FPL element to it, but we're going to be trying to do some break-in shows around transfers. We're taking ideas from you guys on what topics you want to delve into, try to keep this thing growing and try to keep it going into when the new app update arrives and we can actually properly launch for the new season. So give us a thumbs up if you're happy about it. Give us a like for sure, because I think it'll be exciting. I think I'll manage to get some good guests on here too. We'll probably get some insight, to be honest, that you won't find anywhere else. So that'll be fun. And these little nuggets, hopefully, that we can build throughout the summer will help everybody get a better idea early on and an edge on people when it comes to picking that first team, which is such a minefield.
Just a very quick note on Xhaka. I was at the Arsenal training ground last week with Xhaka and did some stuff with him, as well as a couple of the other players. But all the players were around doing various shoots. And one thing that was so clear, he is the captain, the leader in that team. And I know he's not officially the captain. Odegaard is the captain. But mark my words, you see him. Yeah. I think he had the captaincy taken off him, didn't he? But he's the man there. I was absolutely shocked when I just saw the Fabrizio Romano stuff. Gutted.
I mean, that is interesting because that is exactly what I've always been told, and that Xhaka is a leader, and they don't have many leaders. They really don't. Like Zinchenko, you see leading. I mean, obviously, you'd imagine that Jorginho can too. But that's baffling to me. But stick with us, people, because we should hopefully have lots more of this coming.
Yeah, stay with us, team. We're going to move on now and have a look at our teams. Let's check it out. Oh, Dean, punter went Joel Linton captain. Our producer, Mus, went Trippier captain. It was the play for me was you go Isak or Wilson, but then if not, I said on the stream, I think Haaland and Salah are both good punts, and even 14 for Haaland, it's a return. And Salah was obviously, I think, was it 12? So both those single game week players still did very well.
Yeah, it's fine. Like I say, I did this last minute just because I knew that people in my mini league around me had all gone Captain Wilson, and I just didn't see the point of just mirroring what they were doing because it wasn't going to get me anywhere. So I changed to Haaland last minute and hope that he did something, which he didn't. Trent obviously delighted with the goal that he got. The clean sheet was a predictable one given the state of Leicester, so that was good. Kepa didn't play, so that will be switched out.
Mendy was so bad as well. So if you do own Kepa, don't panic. There's a chance Kepa comes back in. Mendy was so bad.
Yeah, Mendy highly likely to be the one of the two that actually leaves Chelsea this summer. I mean, both might be on the market, to be honest, but Mendy is the most attainable in terms of wages, in terms of valuation, in terms of the type of clubs that could actually move for him. So yeah, Kepa will probably be a sticker, but we'll have to wait and see if they sign another goalkeeper. But yeah, Raya, who we were just talking about, with a 7, that will come in handy. Murphy, I took a punt on. I did that like 2 weeks ago, thinking, right, I need a third Newcastle asset. I need a cheap one. And I think I moved March out and I got Murphy in. No, March is still there.
You
get out.
Bench.
I can't remember. Martinelli, maybe Martinelli dropped out and I signed 2 other players or something. I signed Trent and I got in Murphy. That was it. So that just hasn't paid off. Like he hasn't been seen. It's just like wasn't expecting like nothing. That's annoying. But that was again a gamble.
You were unlucky with Hakpo as well, mate. He missed a sitter last night.
I
was right behind the goal when Salah. They were just gone 2-0 up. It was like they were going to score 3 goals in 3 minutes, pretty much. That's what it felt like. Salah put him in and just straight at the keeper. But he had a good game and he got the assist for one of those. I think the second goal.
I've quite enjoyed having him. I've quite enjoyed having Hakpo in this team. Like he always gives you hope at the very least. Like you watch a Liverpool game and he's always in the areas where the ball's either going to fall to him or might fall to him. Sometimes he delivers, sometimes he doesn't. But I like backing a player that's at least in the mix to give you something different.
And make the most of Hakpo being a midfielder, guys, because next year he'll almost certainly be listed as a forward and probably be more expensive as well. Good stuff, Dean. Let's have a look at... before we throw over to my team, actually, transfer plans. If we look at those on a double game week, guys, next week we have, obviously, the the penultimate game week of the season, but there are a fair few teams on a double, and they are good double game week teams. So Brighton, we can see Dean's got 2 Brighton. Man City, he's on 1. United, he's on none at the moment.
None.
And Chelsea, 1. So we're hoping Kepa comes back in for you and you get double game week keeper. But I guess, Dean, you'll be targeting United, City, and Brighton. Have you got one?
I've got Brighton. Because March can't play. But I've only got 1 transfer, but I'll probably take a hit to make 2. I mean, Saka will probably go. He's expensive and don't feel like he's necessary anymore. He could probably open up the best door for me.
You might be able to stretch to a Bruno if Saka goes.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I might be able to. I mean, I think I've got 0.6 or something in the bank. Is it on here? No. Yes, I've got a little bit in the bank, so it might have to be Saka, and then I'll have to make 2, I think, to
even
get
Gabriel might be able to. You might be able to go like Gabriel down to Wan-Bissaka, and that's enough.
Yeah, I think probably the 2 Arsenals will be the 2 that are swapped out for the 2 double game weekers. That's probably where I'm going to be heading. And as I say, I'm really just playing for mini league now and just seeing if I can get in the top 4 and win some money. I'm on my 5th at the moment.
Ooh,
how many points am I outside of the top? I need to make up at the moment 29 points to get into the top 4. I think I get 50 quid if I come 4th. So yeah, that's not impossible. And the guy who's 4th doesn't have any Man United players at the moment. So that's probably the route I'll be going down, just to try and get something different there. So yeah, I think you've probably led me down that path, which is what I was hoping to take anyway.
Nice. Okay, cool. Let's have a look at my team. I am currently on a Callum Wilson captainer. We'll talk about Wilson in just a sec. It's playing great. I could do with a Newcastle clean sheet. A 0-0 in that Brighton Newcastle game would probably be all right for me. If there's involvement, obviously I want it to be my Brighton mids. Trent, thank you very much. He's been due. I've still owned Chilwell. You can see there, and he's fairly expensive. I've got a bit of money there, which could come in useful. Haaland and Wilson, great. My transfer plans before we speak about Callum Wilson, I would love to try and get Bruno in. Now, Bruno can become Rashford, and I don't have enough. I've got a bit of money in the bank, but not quite enough. So I then have to go Chilwell down to a United defender. Now, I can afford, annoyingly, it would have been great if Varane was still out and Martinez was still out, and I knew Lindelof was going to start every game, because Lindelof's a 4.1 defender. Now, he is starting every game, Lindelof, but I'm slightly concerned that doesn't continue. It should. It's Lindelof-Varane partnership with Luke Shaw at left back. So I think it might be Lindelof that comes in. Wan-Bissaka's 4.3, but again, you never know if Dalot comes in and plays 1 at right back, or is Dalot at left back and Wan-Bissaka at right back. Wan-Bissaka has started the last 3, but not the last 4. So Lindelof feels the safest. So it's Rashford to Bruno, Chilwell to Lindelof. Or if Rashford looks like he's going to play, obviously I don't want to sell him. I could then go Grealish, who might play one of the double fixtures. He might not start both. But I'd be reluctant to sell Grealish, but I could go Grealish to Bruno, and then I'd be selling Chilwell down to a defender that's not Man United, because I'd have triple Man United. I'd have Rashford, Bruno, and De Gea. So that would be annoying. Chilwell would have to go down to someone under the value of 5 million. Now, frustratingly, the Man City defenders are mostly above 5 million. Stones 5.6, Akanji 5.1, Diaz 6. But I could get Ake if he was fit. He's 5.0. Or Walker 4.7. But I think both those guys could start one of the doubles. So do I want to take a hit for a player that's only going to play one in the double? Probably not. So I've got a lot of thinking to do. A lot will hinder on the Rashford news, I think, Dean. What do you make of that City defence and playing twice, and even the City congestion? If, knowing Arsenal have dropped points now, do we think City will go full strength against Brighton and Chelsea, knowing they can afford to slip up? Or do you think it's Pep and he just goes with his best team and it's about momentum and they're cool?
Yeah, I'll pretty much go with his best team here, I think. The fact that you look at the team he picks at Everton at the weekend, I think that gives us an indication of where his head's at here. I mean, unless there are niggles hanging over from what happens tomorrow night against Real Madrid, then I would be pretty confident that we could have a reasonably good guess at that Man City team. The Chelsea one is the one that I just can't, I can see them absolutely battering Chelsea, if I'm honest. That's the thing. I think that Frank Lampard going into that fixture, trying to control it and restrict Man City's chances. I just have zero faith in him being able to do that. We were talking about this on Ranks FC today. We did a big episode that's going out tomorrow about Pochettino's inbox and the fixes he needs to make and stuff like that. And one of the big talking points that we made, and it's because we get told it by people in and around Chelsea, this Chelsea team are unfit. And I don't mean that as unfit as in I am unfit, obviously. Like I couldn't play in the Premier League. This team cannot be intense for 90 minutes. They cannot press properly. They don't have the legs that it takes to be up there challenging anymore. And that will change under Pochettino 100%. Yep. But it's something that has been a recurring problem throughout this season. It's been brought up several times about the fact that the level's just up there. And it goes all the way back to the summer when Tuchel was really annoyed at Chelsea's pre-season plans and said he wasn't getting enough time with them at the training ground. He wasn't happy with their pre-season plans at all. They never recovered from it. And now they're going to the Etihad in a fixture like this, and they're just not equipped for it. I really don't believe that this Chelsea team are going to be well enough equipped for it physically, probably or mentally, to handle it. And as a result of that, I think Pep puts out his best team and plays them off the park, and it ends up as a 3 or 4-0. Sorry, mate. I know you support Chelsea.
No worries, mate. No worries. It has been painful, and I'm looking at the fixtures, and it's for Man City. Obviously, they play Wednesday, and then it's Sunday for Chelsea. Okay. And then it's Wednesday Brighton. But of course, they're not traveling. They've already traveled to Madrid. So the Wednesday game's at home. So you don't have the travel day, which is good. So I think I'm with you. I think we'll see mainly full strength. Like we saw against Everton, pretty much full strength. Grealish was rested. So yeah, it could be big. The other consideration is I look at Luke Shaw, ignore Bruno, and maybe go for another Man City mid. If Mahrez misses that Real Madrid game and he plays Bruno on the right again, I could go Mahrez. And I think because Mahrez will come straight in. That's an option if, say, Rashford's out. So, yeah, lots will hinder on what we see versus Real Madrid, who we see versus Real Madrid. And then, of course, that Rashford injury news is going to be absolutely massive. And Ten Hag, annoyingly, isn't one of those managers that tells you absolutely straight. He's not like a De Zerbi who will pretty much say he's out or he's in. So I do think it will be a lot of us sweating on Marcus Rashford. And again, training photos will be key. United, we won't get leaks because the deadline's at 11 o'clock and Man United play at 3 o'clock. So again, they're not in the early kickoff. It's Spurs-Brentford in the early kickoff. So yeah, it will be, we'll probably get photos if he's travelled. There's always people ready with a camera phone off the back of Marcus Rashford stepping off a coach in Bournemouth or something. So we might know if he's travelled, but that'll probably be it, or checked in at the hotel.
Yeah, you're right.
That'll probably be it. Dean, Callum Wilson, what are we expecting for Thursday night? Because Isak's clearly the number one sort of attacking player in that squad or team. If Howe wants to play both strikers or accommodate Wilson, it feels like it's not a front two, it's a front three, and we have to see Isak left. Wilson was about to get hooked versus Leeds before the second penalty came in. Literally, St. Max was ready warming up, and it was going to be St. Max comes on left, Isak goes on central. He got the penalty, he got an extra 10 minutes and load of extra points. But there is a world where we see a front three of St. Max on the left, whoever on the right, Almiron or Murphy, whoever, and Isak as the number 9. Or, knowing Callum Wilson is scoring goals, is he simply undroppable? Do penalties still count when we go forwards on a run, are scoring goals? They should still count because he's still scoring goals. I think they do.
It's about confidence too, isn't it? It's that feeling that you get knowing that you scored the 2 goals that made the difference. Look at Callum Wilson's points returns from the last 4 games.
It's amazing.
12 at the weekend. He only got 2 in the Arsenal game, but then he got 12 against Southampton, 13 against Everton. Like, that is a guy that is in form, and as a manager, you just can't ignore that. It doesn't matter how the goals are coming. It doesn't matter if they're tap-ins, all tap-ins from 2 yards, if they're penalties, if they're worldies, whatever it is. Callum Wilson's feeling on top of the world, and while a striker is in that feeling, you've got to keep putting him out there. Even if he was to drop him, not drop him, but rest him. Callum Wilson is coming on in that game, and he'll be even more fired up to score. So I think that, look, I've said it before on here, like Wilson, I think is desperate to hang around at Newcastle. It's actually not impossible that he leaves in the summer. I'm not saying he will, but they're speaking to a couple of people that are pretty in the know at the club. Yeah, they're not 100% convinced that Wilson stays around. He's on a good contract. He's paid really well. But as this team develops, there's a feeling that he might be one of the victims of the success.
Yeah.
And, obviously, there's only going to be limited clubs, I think, that could have probably afford Callum Wilson, given the sort of money he's earning at Newcastle. He's up among the top earners.
With his injury record too.
He's got that injury record too. But
hey, Coventry might be back in the Premier League.
There you go. From his point of view, like, he wants to be part of this. He hasn't joined them to only get this far. They're going to be in the Champions League. Callum Wilson knows he could be playing in the Champions League next season. I think he returns for us again, to be honest.
Yeah, it's refreshing. Like, he has been getting the points. I'm like, yeah, but has he been getting the minutes? But when you look at it, it's mainly been starts. Like, it's 72, 77, a 45, which was a substitute appearance at halftime, an 86. So of the last 4 games, he started 3 of them and had 45 minutes in one. So we know he's not a 90-minute man, but that shouldn't matter. The spread of fixtures has been okay. They played at the weekend. They play Thursday. What's really good about the game week 37 fixture is it's the Monday night game. If it was a Thursday-Sunday turnaround, you might be like, can Wilson start 2 in 4 days? Well, Thursday, Monday, he absolutely can. And then the final day of the season, useful, it's the Sunday. So Monday, Sunday, again, is fine. So the fixtures are there because the Brighton game could have goals. And then the Leicester game at home is really, really important. For Newcastle to get top 4, Leicester needs something to survive. But the way Leicester are defending at the moment, Wilson, 75 minutes of Wilson at St James's Park against Leicester would be an absolute dream for his owners. So,
absolutely.
If you've gone Wilson over Isak, fair play, well done. I hope it continues. If you've gone Isak and you don't own Wilson, there's still a very good chance Isak goes big in those fixtures. And the beauty of Isak is he'll probably get 90 minutes. And yes, he might start on the left. But when Wilson goes off, and Wilson will go off, it will be Isak as the number 9, perhaps for 10, perhaps for 20 minutes. And that 20 minutes when he's the number 9 is where he could bag points against a tired Leicester or a dead and buried Leicester, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, interesting.
We should take some questions. Let's have a look in the chat. The chat's been kicking off tonight in a good way. Very active. We've got Henry Saville in the chat. Good to see you, Sav. He's a Wilson captainer as well. Late to the party, but we love it. Well done, Sav. Congrats on that. Ivor says Gianni has 5 points more than me, and he doesn't own Trent Ivor doesn't own Trent or a Estupinan. Wow, you must own like Eze or some cool differentials there. I'm on a big green arrow this week, which is useful as well. I think I've had about a 50k rank rise so far, but I don't like reading too much into mid-game week ranks. Any other questions? We'll get up. Anthony, how about Anthony? Because he is shooting on sight, Dean. I know he's not scoring, but he's getting the chances. If Rashford's out, you can't reach Bruno. Could you go Anthony?
You could. I mean, it does still feel like a bit of a risk because I'm never still 100% sure what you're getting. But he is becoming a little bit more consistent. And I know he barely touches the ball with his right foot, but it's okay because the left foot is an absolute wand. So as a differential, I don't see it as a like Rashford like-for-like replacement because I think Rashford's goal threat is much higher, either on an eye test or statistically. But he's going to play, and at some point he's going to start returning like regularly. Anthony, I think next season could be a big one for him. Maybe he ends with a bang.
Yeah, Ten Hag, you're right. We'll play him. Doesn't move around his team that much. Good question, Mark. When does the transfer window open, Dean? Is it?
I've just put it in the chat. I think it's 13th of June off the top of my head. It's something like that. I haven't had time to double check that right now, but I looked at it last week and I'm sure it was the 13th of June. It doesn't really matter. I mean, you can see it's basically already started. Brighton have already signed 2 players.
Chelsea got a new manager.
It really doesn't seem to matter anymore. People just sign players as and when they want to. It's always like typically like first week of June is typically considered like transfer season. But I think this year, because of the way it all worked out in the scheduling and with the World Cup, I think it was slightly later, which I'm going to say 13th.
And it doesn't matter too much, Rahul or Mark, I think who asked that question, because you can still have those conversations, and then the day it opens, the deal's done. So
yeah, I mean, you don't actually do the contracts don't begin until the 1st of July. So yes, that's any player's contract will end in the end of June and start, from whenever they sign after that. But if they sign before that and it's 1st of July, that their contract will begin.
So if you're a free agent, let's say Granit Xhaka, and Arsenal play their last game on the 28th of May, and he signs for Leverkusen, he will still get paid to the end of June.
Still get paid to the end of June, yeah.
Interesting.
His contract will run till then, yeah.
Nice. Footballers have it easy, didn't they? Rahul, is Salah to Bruno worth it? Oh, this is the $1 million question. I think Bruno's a better punt in game week 37 than Salah, yeah. But I think in 38, I prefer Salah. And then I question, is it worth using the transfer? Also, at Anfield, Salah is hot. And Villa, yeah, they looked better last week than the last few. But Salah looked good again last night, guys. I'd be very reluctant to make that move. If there's any other way you can get to Bruno, maybe you have to sell a Grealish like me. Or if Rashford's injured, that could be useful. Then perhaps that's how you do it. Where do you see clean sheets in the upcoming game week? I always think clean sheets are the hardest to predict in game week 37 and 8. I really do, because you get Fulham scoring 5 goals against Leicester. You get Crystal Palace scoring 4-3 was Palace West Ham a couple of weeks ago. Those teams that are mid-table can play with real freedom. And yeah, we can say they're on the beach and rubbish. Or you can go the other side and go, they can play with expression and go big. When does Palace score 4 and Fulham score 5? Well, they've both just done that.
This is the thing. It's nonsense now. Like, we've literally entered nonsense season. And I actually wanted to remind myself, like, coming into this game week, like, you could just pick some random players. Like, pick some random players who like got a good fixture and they might have a threat. Like, just almost like just blind pick someone, because there's been a few weird scorers and score lines. And that's going to happen definitely in the last 2 game weeks. You'll get a couple of really big score lines. There's one nice one for you, mate. George says Leao starts for Milan. That's an interesting
nice one. I was hoping he would. Of course, the big game is in 1 hour's time.
It's going to be so good. Like, I'm actually quite excited for the fact that Milan have to go for this.
Yeah.
They're the away team, which won't be easy. But if they can turn the tables early on and get in front, then that game could take on a totally different feel to how you would expect it to go with Inter 2-0 up. Inter just want to manage that game. Milan typically will start a game quite slow, and Inter absolutely preyed on that in the first leg, and were like, right, they'd usually take some 20 minutes to get into a game. Let's put this game beyond doubt before we get to that point. And they did it really, really well.
Yeah.
Obviously, Leao not being there means they're missing a massive threat. But so I'm excited he's back. That gives the game much more meaning tonight. It makes it more interesting.
It certainly does. Certainly does. I think whoever gets the first goal, if AC get the first goal, there's a real chance they can turn it round. But obviously, if Inter get the first goal, it's completely dead and buried.
100%, yeah.
So that first goal
will be a big ask, even if they score first. But they've got 2 and it goes to extra time. So yeah,
and away goals. This is the right season for away goals to be wiped, because imagine away goals counting against you in your own stadium.
Absolutely.
Not fun. Guys, we will be back, no doubt, on Friday. Time to be confirmed. But make sure you hit that notification bell. And on Friday, when we go live, you will know about it. For now, guys, thank you so much for watching. Before you leave, and if you've just joined in the last 10 or 15 minutes, go back and watch the last hour. You've honestly, you've missed a good one. But yeah, like, subscribes, all the love, comments. But we'll see you on Friday. For now, he's been Dean, I've been Janny, and we've been chasing green arrows.